More than 26 million animals are used in the United States every year. We know that the contribution of the animal testing has brought a lot of benefits to the humankind, but we know that there should be other methods or maybe solutions to reduce the quantity of animals used. It is mostly used in universities, medical schools, pharmaceutical companies, and farms. This includes genetics, development, biological development, behavioral studies, and cosmetics. Now the question is it really worth the amount of animals killed and used for the benefit of the humankind? In this side, in favor, we have Mario Cervantes, and here we have Maria Ángela Martinez and Cynthia Carrete. So now we're going to start with the first part of the debate, that is about the procedure used in the animal testing.
Okay, so first of all, let's define what animal testing was. As my partner said, it not only includes vivisections and those procedures that are considered as painful for some. It also includes behavioral studies, and from the number told by my partner are just a very small amount of animals, the total amount of animals that actually suffer. As we know, animal procedures and animal testing has brought absolutely many benefits to our society. Our quality of life and our way to treat many diseases couldn't be possible if animal testing wasn't performed. Supporters of the use of animal testing, such as the British Royal Society, says that every medical achievement of the 20th century have, on one way or another, relied directly on the use of these procedures. And the Institute of Laboratory Animal Research in the US argues that even sophisticated computers and other methods that have been implemented can't actually simulate the molecules, cells, tissues, organs, and all the interactions that are made between all these. So this is why animal research is totally required in many areas.
Okay, well, according to the Animal Welfare Association, which is an association that protects animals, they don't protect like animals such as rats, mice, fishes, or birds that are the main animals that are used in these experiments. They only protect cats or dogs or maybe sheep, I don't know. But 90% of the tested in animals are performed in these animals, which are not protected. So it's not correct to perform experiments on animals that are not protected by like the main organization, which is the Animal Welfare Association. Then most of the animals that are used in experiments are killed during or after the experiment. So it's not correct to waste lives for poor research, because not all the time these experiments are correct. And 90% of the drugs that are tested in animals are correct, but when they test it on humans, they do not function. So what is the point to use animals in something that is not going to function then? And another important point is that according to the Human Society International Association, they say that the animal test is more expensive than alternative methods. For example, they say that if they try a DNA experiment on animals, it will cost 32,000. And if you use in vitro alternative experiment, they only will spend 11,000.
Also, animals are subjected to forced feeding, to forced inhalation, and to water and food deprivation. And there are into the infliction of burns and another wants to study the healing process, and that is too cruel. And there are a lot of animals that are used, for example, in cosmetology that I think is completely unnecessary because it's not for the human benefit, I don't know. And there are some tests like the LD50, which means lethal dose 50, which goal is to find out the amount or the dose of a chemical that will kill the 50% of the animals. So from the beginning, the goal is to kill a half of the animals that are used. And as my partner say, the experiments in animals not always work in humans. For example, there was this case of a sleeping pill thalidomide in the 1950s that was tested on pregnant animals, and it didn't make anything wrong in them. But when it was used in humans, it caused about 10,000 of baby born with deformities. And that's not, that it wasn't worth it, all the animals that were used in this kind of experiments.
So we have any more arguments for this specific topic?
Yes, just a few last arguments. To clarify some points. If we strictly go to a definition of a drug that is safe and not safe, we are actually buying a lot of drugs on the market already that aren't safe. Part of the drug development is that after it is approved by the pertinent association for the drug to go on sale, there's a period of 10 years under which it is studied, where it is seen how the drug actually acts on people. So any drug on the market that hasn't been 10 years already on the market isn't safe by definition. The experiments performed on humans that result on unsuccessful, well, they are actually first performed on animals in order to reduce the risk of being unsafe for human use. And I am not in favor of the animal testing for not beneficial purposes, such as cosmetics. And if you, Cynthia, really were not in the same position I am, you wouldn't have brought those cherry lips today to this debate.
So now we're going to continue with the ethical implications of this topic. So if you want to start.
Oh, I'm sorry. My ethical posture in the use of animals in experimentation is that there is this theory that has been previously mentioned on other debates because of its multiple implements. Utilitarianism, which is the happiness of the most worth more than the happiness of others. It is true that many animals suffer every year due to these procedures, but if we think in the amount of human lives that are saved by these painful procedures made on animals, it is actually worth it. I mean, I really would like more watch 10 mice suffer than watch any of us here suffer from a disease. I think it's really worth it. But it's not just the cost of 10 mice for one of us. It is actually, many people have been saved by just sacrificing the life of one mice. So it is totally worth it.
Okay, well, I want to start with a phrase from Jeremy Bentham, who said that the question is not can they talk or can they reason, but can they suffer? I think that animals are human beings, so they have moral rights and moral values. They have beliefs and desires. So but the difference is that they cannot think or they cannot tell you that they are suffering. So it's not fair to treat them like they are not worth it. So, as you said, the utilitarianism, there is another branch of this theory known as negative utilitarianism, which states that you should not seek for the greatest happiness for the greatest number, but you should seek for the least amount of suffer for all the people, or in this case, animals.
And also the level of suffering and the number of animals are both too high, and I think it doesn't, well, the benefit to humans is not, or doesn't provide a moral justification. And there was this writer that said that for experimenters, whenever experimenters claim that their experiments are good enough to justify the use of animals, then we should ask them if they're prepared to use a brain-damaged human being in the same condition that an animal, instead of the animals that they're planning to use. And I think that would be so cruel, because none of them would be able to defend themselves or anything about that.
I think this ends up being an endless debate, because morality in a certain part is a bit of a matter of taste. In order for an entity to have rights, it must be a moral agent. This means that it's a being that is able of deciding between right and wrong, and is someone who has free will. As far as I know, animals aren't capable of deciding right and wrong. They are incapable of planning a future, and there is no scientific proof that shows that animals have actual feelings. This doesn't mean that they don't suffer, but they can express as we humans could express a feeling. But also we can use this definition to say that something has rights or not, because if this was the case, then we could perform these experiments on newborn babies or mentally diseased people. Therefore, I think this is an endless debate if we go to the morals and ethics, because there are many points of view and many theories.
Okay, so maybe if there are many points of views, we should all try to gather like our points of views for a solution. So why don't we start with an alternative or something?
Okay, well, there are other options that to stop with the animal testing. For example, we can use, or experimenters can use cell cultures instead of old animals, or using computer models, or even if it's not dangerous, they can study with human volunteers. So from the beginning, prove that it's gonna really work on them.
There is another alternative known as organs in a chip, which was developed by scientists at Harvard. And this chip consists of a polymer that contains human cells. So scientists or doctors can see like how these cells are going to react to certain drugs or certain treatments that they are developing. And these chips, they can recreate the human functions of an organ or of a human body. So I think that it's really great how technology is advancing and allowing these technologies to exist instead of using animals.
The fact that animals don't have the same rights that we do, the fact that animals have a lower level of self-awareness, doesn't mean that they are lower creatures. The fact that we have rights means that we also have duties. And I believe that part of these duties are taking care of the weak. I am totally against of the vivisections. I'm totally against to those procedures that wouldn't bring a beneficial ending for humans or for any other thing, because, well, there are procedures performed on animals that also bring benefits to the same animals, to the same species. There are lots of drugs that are developed by animal testing that provide help to the same animals. So I believe that animal testing for cosmetic purposes should be banned, and vivisections. In the words of Charles Darwin, which also is against of this, and I share his point of view. I'll start with it. I'll share this quote that says, "If you ask about my opinion on vivisection, I quite agree that it's justifiable for real investigations or physiology, but not for mere damnable and detestable curiosity. It is a subject which makes me sick with horror, so I will not say another word about it, else I shall not sleep tonight." Today there are many medical schools, or not even medical schools, just biology class on a junior high that tortures animals with no beneficial purposes. Nowadays there are many resources to show and educate. Therefore, animal testing that doesn't bring a direct benefit or there isn't used for serious investigation shouldn't be performed.
Okay, so in conclusion, we know that the animal testing brings a lot of benefits to the development of science and technology, but we think that it needs to have a regulations, like not every time that a scientist feels like a new idea or something like experimenting. So we believe that this needs to have more control. So the solution that were proposed were the human voluntaries, like maybe humans could be paid or something for the risk that they are willing to have. The in vitro that it was proposed here, and the organic achieved with Mariela. So we know that in animal testing is necessary, but this needs to have a regulation somehow, and it needs to be reduced.